Yo, what's good? It's Skano. Be real, man. She be putting belt ass. I mean, listen, it doesn't make you a punk. I understand that you were raised probably like most men, that men should never, you know, get physical or violent with a female. It's been ingrained in us, most of us, since early childhood, wired into us. But what happens when your woman is violent? You know, what you supposed to do? Just tolerate it. Because as a man, first of all, people only gonna do what you allow them to do, right? So if you tolerate certain behaviors, and me personally, I try to treat everybody with respect, but I'm gonna be honest with you. The type of mentality I have and just my nature in general, if I sense weakness in somebody, I'm not gonna say I'll run all over them, but I'm gonna impose my will on them. When the first time somebody disrespects you, in the streets, you are more than likely, going to react to that, right? You're going to assert you know, your willingness to stand up for yourself. But see, when it come to women, a lot of times men, because like I said, a lot of things that you would never let nobody in the streets get away with, men will let their women get away with, and then some. You know, and women, man, I think the different dynamic. Women have no shame in embarrassing or trying to humiliate and degrade a man in public. I witnessed this shit, and even getting physical. And you could tell that it's routine. You could tell that it's something that dude is used to dealing with. They usually are calm, you know, passive, you know, showing great restraint, I must say, man. But that's dangerous. That's dangerous. And you love these women into it just because you tolerate it, you know. The next dude may not. But it's a lot of dudes out here, man, in abusive relationships, and they are the ones getting abused. I've run across women that had violent natures, man, and they got off on chaos. I think it was the breakup to makeup cycle, and like I said, as most men, we are wired. Sometimes, and I'm gonna put it, sometimes you have to restrain a female. I'm gonna put it like you have to gain control of her, not beat her down, or choke her out, but make her understand, that it's not acceptable for her to get put her hands on you, because you can, in response, you know, even though they understand that, but they may not understand that because you have allowed them. It's been a routine. It started with the mouth, you know. And like most abusive people, it escalates, right? So I guess some people just, the first time they flash out is kapow upside the kisser or whatever. But usually it's a routine, it's built, you know. The more you allow them to get away with, the more they push the envelope. Start out with the mouth, and then during the argument or whatever, they just haul off and upside your head. And like I said, a majority of men will not respond to that, at least not with violence. And there you go. And it's one of them things where, you know, what man is, men don't discuss this shit, you know what I'm saying? But it's commonly known. I believe it's, you know, I believe it's common. More common than you would think. So it is what it is, but a lot of you women have been raised, you know, like y'all daddy's girls who have, you know, you went from being little princesses to now you want to be the queens, and it's a different dynamic, you know, playing out with the ones who are, you know, coming up in a single mother household where the mom is the dominant personality, you know, and there is a sense of masculinity in these women in the sense that they are not submissive, you know what I'm saying? And they are aggressive, you know what I'm saying? So, a majority of men do not vet. Men see what they are attracted to, you know, they follow, they lust. And a lot of times our lust will lead us into situations where, you know what I'm saying, now you're dealing with a psychopath. You know, but when you know, when you get two psychopaths that come together, it could be a beautiful thing, I guess. But in a situation where you were just a regular dude and your chick is a psychopath, obviously your life can be, you know, it can be difficult. So what are you to do? Most men will tolerate this because, you know, it's not a big deal, you know. But like I said, when we think of, you know, sexual sociopaths, you know, and people who prey on the opposite sex and use their love, you know, as a device to destroy them emotionally, mentally, spiritually. We often think of men are often the villain when it, you know, we are often viewed as the perpetrators. I think a lot of y'all are just blind to how many female psychopaths are out there. You know what I'm saying? There are many, man. And like I said, the more you let a person get away with, the more they're going to push the envelope. So you have to blame yourself at the end of the day. I'm saying to allow somebody to disrespect you, you know, verbally, for one, you have already set a precedent that you don't deserve respect. So, you know, if your woman is talking to you crazy, and I'm not talking, people have arguments, and if she has no respect for you and will say whatever out her mouth, anywhere around anyone, you know, best believe at some point she gonna be putting belt to ass. You know what I'm saying? But hey, you know, to each their own. You know, but you know, I'd rather be single in my little cardboard box for the rest of my life before I have to come home after battling the whole world and deal with an agent of chaos and disruption. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, man, it's men out here who all is fair in love and war. You know, equal rights and lefts. I don't promote no violence though. 216 Skano, you already know.